audience, guten Abend, liebes Publikum. Welcome here at Scala Ludwigsburg and to all who are watching our live stream. These are our now second Don't Forget Theme Days that will take place from tomorrow until Wednesday. This evening is a cooperation between Scala Kultur Live and Weitblick Freiburg with its project Myanmar Bike. And my name is Dorothee Freistahl. You have noticed this event will be held in English due to our speaker and experts. And I'd like to apologize for any inconveniences, technical problems or lack of understanding. So, don't forget why we must not forget. Because there are so many topics that are fighting for attention right now. There is Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, Afghanistan, AfD, and so many more. And many of them retain their relevance even when they have disappeared from the media. Even more that gain relevance without us noticing. And I would say that's why we are here, that's why you are here, in the eyes, in the mind. Today the focus is on Myanmar and the civil war in Myanmar and the role of Europe and Germany. Tomorrow it's all about sustainability and lithium mining in South America, and on Wednesday we're going to talk about housing. In addition to current input, cultural input, political input, we will show you the usual film. Today we will show you the documentation Spring Revolution that takes place in the first days and weeks after the coup in Myanmar. We're going to start after the next two interviews. Before we start with the first interview, I would like to give you a short introduction on this topic, because that's a complex topic and not so easy. After decades of military dictatorship, in the 2010s, after mass protests, there has been a move toward democratization under the party NLD, that means National League of Democracy. We will use this term a few times today, so please hold in mind. The leader of NLD is or was Aung San Suu Kyi. That's the woman who was arrested for many, many years by the military at home. She and the party, they stood for democracy, but the handling of the repression of Rohingya Muslim minority was quite controversial. In late 2020, the NLD again won the elections, but just a few months later, on February 1st, there was a military coup, and the military arrested and imprisoned many politicians of NLD, such as Aung San Suu Kyi and other government authorities. The reason given for this coup was alleged election fraud by the NLD, also Wahlbetrug. And this led to mass protests, which were initially peaceful, and then turned into armed resistance after brutal repression. So far, and now back to Scala. Now we are very lucky to get a first-hand impression from our guest, Nicky Diamond, who is a Myanmar human rights activist and who will present us his view today. Good evening, Nicky. So, Nicky, I guess we have to share the micro.
Yeah, I'll use that.
Yes, just for the beginning, because I have a short introduction for you and my micro is not working. So, as I said, you are from Myanmar and you went in exile after the coup and the brutal repression of protests. Now you're doing your PhD in political and legal anthropology at the University of Constance, and your main topic is hate speech against Muslim minorities in Myanmar. So far, so correct?
Yes.
I guess people in the audience have a very different level of knowledge on this topic, so I think it would be helpful to bring them on a common ground. from your perspective as a long-time Burmese activist and researcher, can you please give us a quick overview on the relative political opening in Myanmar in the last decade, how it came to the military coup, the protests, and where Myanmar stands now?
Actually, military, I mean, if you look at the 2008 constitution, because of that constitution, we have a political liberalization since 2010. Sorry, I will use my slide better now. Yeah, I think just go to next slide. Okay, that to answer the question, I prepared a very short presentation from my side, and here is the a kinds of overview of my presentation. First, I'd like to introduce about myself and also introduce about Myanmar, if most of you don't know about Myanmar. And also I will continue about the whole main theme of my presentation. I called evolution of Myanmar revolution from anti-coup protest to resistant, and from resistant to democratic revolution. So I will explain more detail later. So next, please. Next class. Yeah. So yeah, about myself, I'm born and raised in Mandalay, and I'm just a normal, ordinary citizen of Myanmar. But I've been involved in various events. Major event like the Chevron Revolution 2007 is drive me crazy to become an activist. But in 2007 also I founded the Youth for Social Change Myanmar, a kind of youth-led organization just sharing, educating ourselves, how to educate ourselves. So this is about my personal life and activism since 2007 until now. I never give it, and I never stopped being doing advocacy for my people and the people of Myanmar. So after I left Myanmar in 2023, I also filed a criminal complaint against Myanmar military generals and others who are responsible for genocide and any other international crime in Germany. So this is kind of my personal life and activism in short. So because I only have 10 minutes to cover the update, development, and from Myanmar, so I will move to next slide. So this is Myanmar in Europe and in Germany. When I talk to German people and European, mostly they don't know where it is sometimes. So Myanmar is between India and China. We are in Southeast Asia, one of the Southeast Asian nations in Southeast Asia. Next, please. So this is a kind of a brief history of Burma. We were British colony for over 100 years, and we have independence in 1948. Since 1948, we have a political crisis. In 1962, we have a kind of coup d'etat. Since 1962 to 88, we have the very famous people uprising in 88, and that people uprising, because of that people uprising, Ne Win socialist regime fall down, and also we have another coup d'etat, military coup d'etat in 88 until 2010 for 20 years. So literally, I can still, my country it has been a military junta for more than 5 or 6 decades now. So this is a brief history of Myanmar. In 2010 to 2020, we have a so-called democratization, but in 2021, we have a military attempted coup. So I will explain more detail later in my slide. Next, please. This is I call the analysis of what or why triggered the coup. So if you look at the problem of our 2008 Nugget Constitution, so it is designed by the military junta, and military already share their power. So whoever civilian elected by the 2008 Constitution, any election, military 25% represented at all parliament, national and regional, and also they control the Ministry of Defense, Border Affairs, Immigration. All the major ministry are controlled by the military, appointed minister. And also, military commander-in-chief can appoint at least one vice president through the Constitution. So military already have so much power by the Constitution. Why trigger the 2021 coup? So one of my analysis is they are still hungry for power. So the commander-in-chief, he's never certified his current power, given by the Constitution. That's why he go beyond doing the coup. Next, please. So because of the coup, next show the photo. Yeah. Yeah, because of the coup, mostly people are scared because we were under the military junta for so many years. So when the military attempted the coup, people had to believe and had to show up in the industry. So his name is Dr. Desaströse, one of my friends from Mandalay, and he is the first person who showed up in the street and who mobilized the whole country. So next photo. So yeah, there are other activists, student leaders, and also there are various kinds of leaders, lead walkers, and activists leave and show up in the street, and later that kinds of anti-coup protests spread throughout the country. So because of that, people disagree with the military and the military attempted coup. So people create we call the civil disobedient movement, which is every public servants, they refuse to work under the military regime, and then they decide not to go to their offices. So that became one of the big movement in the country to cripple military administration. And next, please. And also some of protesters and some people believe we also have a Rohingya genocide perpetrated by the military junta. It is ongoing since 1970. Military committed ongoing genocide against the Rohingya. Most of the people under the military junta and NLD government believe those Rohingyas are illegal migrants from Bangladesh, and they are not belong to Myanmar, and most of the people believe sincerely those people should be eliminated and support the military terror campaign against the Rohingya. But after the coup, some people have a new enlightenment. They see a new reality that Rohingya also part of the society. Also, they are victims, and like us, because the military are kind of hungry for power. They don't care about whoever. So Burmese people or Rohingya, they don't care. They kill them. They kill everyone. So that's why people change their perspective. Imagine all the new civil society actors, after my presentation, you will be seeing the very comprehensive, excellent documentary about the whole activists, and why people show up in the street and how activists involved in the anti-coup protests. You will be seeing all these different actors, how they contributed to the people anti-protest movement. You will see that. So I will not explain the whole process, but later, after 3 months, 6 months of the military aggressive, brutal, crack down against the peaceful protester. So people in Myanmar decide to fight back against the military. So they were not, they give it their non-violent protests, but they start forming their own army, resistance forces, and they make their own homemade weapon, and they fight against the military. So right now we have different kinds of news, security actors. We call the People Defense Forces. So under the National Unity Government. So National Unity Government is National Unity Government is our legitimate government after the coup. They founded by the elected official from the 2020 election. And also there are other political forces join with them to fight against the military. So we have that kinds of institution in fighting against the military. And also we have local defense forces, people defense team, PAKAPA, PDDs, you know. So we right now estimated 100,000 up to 115,000 member combatants who are engaging in fighting against the military. So mostly 50% equipped with weapon, but only 25% have a military-grade weapon. But NUG, our legitimate government, they are establishing the chain of command, and also we have Ethnic Revolutionary Organization, or EAO, Ethnic Armed Organizations, so they are also supporting the PDF. So next, please. Next. Oh, next. So this is my analysis of the 2021 February military and successful attempted coup. Actually, when we talk about the stability and control, the military is losing. If you look at the picture that is produced by the group talking about the how military losing control in those areas. If you look at the map, most of the part they are in the kinds of fighting these regions. People defense force engaging in an active war against the military. Military cannot control those areas at all. And also military, we call this, I already talked about the CDM, so we have the defection, and also we call the watermelon. Watermelon mean a military soldier or police officer still inside the military or their institution, but they are providing the valuable insider information to the revolution or revolutionary forces. So that's why we have a kind of the insider information and to manage fighting in Myanmar. And also we have estimated right now, I don't have up-to-date data, but estimated 30,000 military combatant deaths expire, and also endure 20,000 injured. So look at these number, and military is evident they are losing. They are not controlling the country. Next, please. And also, I'd like to move to the topic of military airstriking in Myanmar. So I have a kinds of data from the map from the Free Burma Ranger and ASEAN Burma, showing that this is the frequency of military airstrike in Myanmar. Currently, not up to date, is only in to February. And also the map showing these key cities well military control, but most of the white area, most of the part gray area, so they cannot no longer controlling those areas. So it's mean like the world, the European country and also international community believe in the military regime like they are controlling and stabilizing, but actually it is not true. They are losing their war against our civilian, our local, our people defense forces in Myanmar. Next, please. So because they cannot control those areas, those regions, so they are using the airstrike. So that's why international community led by the US, United States, they are kind of sanctioning against the military, aerial, fuel, and other kinds of sanctions against the generals and whoever perpetrator of the genocide and also perpetrator of the ongoing crime against humanity and war crime in Myanmar. So this is the kind of number, not up to date, but they are using air power to suppress, attack civilians. Mostly civilians are vulnerable, and children and women are vulnerable during this aerial attack by the military. So this is the data I got from the two organizations. One is ISP Myanmar, and another one is Nyanlintit Analytica. So they are collecting the data, how many civilians have been killed during military attempted coup. So it is over 8,000 up to 9,000 right now, and also most of them are killed by the military and also by the military fighter jets. So still there are huge high numbers of unconfirmed cases. These are the cases that confirmed by the researcher and the data collector who are working on the ground. This one is the latest incident happened, military airstrike, a bombing in Kachin State. So it killed 28 civilians and 13, I hear, 13 the kids, the children, 13 out of 28 children. So it is, very everyday horror and everyday military killing is the never stop. They continue. They are repeating again and again. So one of my points here is they are the perpetrator of the genocide against Rohingya, and before the Rohingya genocide, they also the perpetrator of war crime, crime against humanity, any crimes, any human rights violations you name, they committed against the other ethnic minority in the name of fighting against insurgency in Myanmar. But they still continue. You will see the similar pattern of the military committing that kinds of international crime, atrocious crime, after the coup as well. Next, please. Next. Yeah, this is the latest news of the military airstrike in Myanmar. It's killed 28 civilians, 13 children. And next one. So I don't have so much time, but I'd like to also talk about raise the issue of power vacuum. So we are now facing the civil war in Myanmar. So people did demand to engage and fight against the military. So it's mean the military is the institutionalized security, state security forces in the country. They have a lot of resources. They have many funding, and also some powerful nations like Russia and China recognize the military junta. The rest of the world, they don't give any recognition, legitimacy to the military, but military still controlling some part of the country. So we are at war. So because of the civil war, we have a problem of power vacuum, security, food security, human security, basic need for the human, IDPs, and administrative judiciary issue. All these issues currently, more than these issues, people are dealing on the ground. So the problem is we need solidarity from you, from Germany, from European country, and from the international community. Sometimes when I look at the international news in Europe always cover from the Ukraine, and also right now Israel-Palestine issue, but only a very, very limited coverage on Myanmar. So most of the people in Germany and Europe, they don't know what is happening in the country. That's why I'm here. I always love to be in the a kind of public space or public sphere to share my knowledge, my experience to the German audience, because we need awareness raising in Germany and Europe as well. So Next, please. So I don't want to talk about too much because you will be seeing the very excellent documentary about our anti-coup protest and how that anti-coup protest emerged into a resistance and revolution. So you will be seeing that excellent movies. But in my recommendation, in my conclusion, so we are facing daily, everyday horror and everyday atrocity committed by the military. Military is using all their forces. So military is the institution. They are legally and morally responsible to protect their own people, but they are failing. So they are now, we people from Myanmar around the world call them is they are terrorists. They are kind of using terror campaign against civilians to control the whole country. So they are using any means to control the country, and so that's why international community, whoever, I mean, I see like international failure or fail to respond to the situation in Myanmar. So we should realize, why we are failing, what we are failing. We should be aware of that, and international community should recognize that. And also, not only recognition on our national unity government, but also we need a recognition of our other ethnic revolutionary organization. They are also institutionalized rebellion revolutionary organization. They have their territory administration, and they are delivering services, services to their people. So right now, people who are internally displaced, so they have to go into those territory, and so they still need a humanitarian assistance. So cross-border humanitarian assistance is really needed. This is one of my recommendations as well. And also my final recommendation is listening to our local actor to understand local context of everyday situation. So I think that's all from me, and if you have any question or any discussion, we can talk about in detail later after watching the documentary. That's all. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, Nikki, for your impressions and your research. You will stay with us, and we see you later on the podium. If there are any questions from the audience or from the stream, please hold them in mind. We come back to you later. So, because we like to continue where you want. Okay. We want to continue with sanctions because despite sanctions and embargoes, there is still trade from Myanmar to the world, especially wood trade. And therefore, we want to talk to an expert. She is an investigative journalist from US, and she investigated into conflict wood from Myanmar, in detail teak wood. So, good evening, Sheila Alaji.
Hello, everyone.
Sheila, you can hear me?
Yes, I can. Can
Fine.
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. But
Sorry, I cannot be with you guys.
Not a problem. Ah, there you are. Good evening. So, thank you for joining, Sheila. You are in US. Where are you exactly right now?
No, I'm actually in Berlin.
Ah, you're in Berlin. Okay.
Yes.
So for
Yeah.
you, it's also in the evening. So,
Yeah.
okay. As I said, Sheila, you are an investigative journalist of ICIJ. That's the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists from America, and you investigated. You investigated into conflict wood from Myanmar. In detail, it's teak wood that is used for very expensive and luxurious yachts and boats, and it's very popular. Can you sum up what you found out regarding the extent and way illegal teak wood exports from Myanmar to Europe still happen?
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. Hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen so you can see some of the slides that will help you a little bit follow the conversation. Okay, host disabled participant. Okay, it's not. I cannot do that. Apparently, the organizer has to change the setting. it says that I cannot share my screen, but I can talk to you about the investigation anyway. Doesn't matter. Should I go on?
1 second, Chilla. Try it again, please.
All right. Yes. Okay.
Okay, it works. Fine.
Perfect. Now it works. All right. So, hello everyone. I'm a reporter with the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. We are a Washington, D.C. based organization, and we do international investigations. Maybe you've heard our name in relation to the Panama Papers and investigations like that. So we usually do projects that are international and they have some sort of business financial angle. And this time we decided to look into environmental crime, and so apply our expertise into financial investigations to environmental investigation. So we released in March this investigation called Deforestation Inc. We did this in a collaboration with journalists from around the world, which is usually what we do. You can see here a photo of one of our meetings in person where we were discussing initial findings and how to go about reporting. The idea behind Deforestation Inc. was to look at how governments are how they are maintaining the promise to halt deforestation by 2030, and also to look at those environmental auditors who certify some forest products as sustainable. And we did this in collaboration with 140 reporters from around the world, from Asia to Europe to Latin America and so forth. So as we were doing this research, we got in touch with a group of activists in Myanmar called Justice for Myanmar, who had obtained a leak of documents from Myanmar's tax department that could document how the trade of conflict wood was continuing despite the sanctions. And so we decided to look into this and look at the companies, the Western companies, who were certifying this teak as sustainable, even though it was coming from Myanmar. And so we put together this group of reporters, and that's how we started. What we did, obviously, we looked at these documents that were leaked, and they were very good documents because they were shipment information. So we could see which Myanmar company was exporting what to companies in the US and Europe and so forth. But we also wanted to see with our own eyes how this teak arrives to in the European and US market. If you don't know why teak is so precious, I want to explain to you why. It's because it's a kind of teak, specifically the one that grows in Myanmar, that is so dense and weather resistant, that is has a very good quality. So it is used especially in boats, for furniture that you use in boats, but especially because it's so good, yachts, luxury yachts use this on the decks or any kind of furniture. You can see here some pictures. These are pictures that the ones at the top, pictures that I took at a Florida boat show. Some of these yachts were made by German yacht makers, because in Germany you have this expertise. These multi-million-dollar yachts are sold many times to oligarchs and so forth. And so very rich people love these kind of things. In the picture that you see at the bottom, you can see all these teak boards being stuck up, and these were photos taken by our Indian colleague, because India has become in the last few years a major importer of teak, and some of this is then resold onto European or US market. These are some images that kind of like I wanted to use so you understand, why these products, what are we talking about? It's a very physical product, but why is it a problem? The problem is that as of now, as Nikki was telling you before, obviously the generals control everything, meaning that the military in Myanmar also controls natural resources and production, export of teak. So the problem is that all these European and US companies that import and buy teak from Myanmar automatically finance the military junta, which is why the European Union and the US, after the coup, decided to sanction some of these companies that were exporting teak. But as journalists, we wanted to see how these sanctions were working, and we actually found that they are not very well. So what we found was that not only the sanctions are not really working, but in addition to that, the companies that continue to import this teak, that is clearly, like a cash cow, basically, for the junta. They are also, in some cases, certified as sustainable by these auditing firms, private auditing firms, whose job is to put a green logo on these products.
May I interrupt you, Shille?
Yes.
Are there also logos from Germany?
Yes. So the logos that are usually the logos are basically international logos, and these are you can see it here on the screen, this green logo that you can see everywhere. These are logos that are issued by auditors who participate in the Forest Stewardship Council. That means that if a company wants to be certified as sustainable, they have to apply for this logo, and an auditor has to be, vet them and make sure that their supply chain is actually sustainable. However, the problem is that teak is never considered sustainable because it comes from a place where the military controls it, and a place where it is impossible, according to many experts that we talked to verify the legality of the harvesting.
And the green one is that the German logo?
No, the logo is international. The German is a German company. So
okay.
There are logos that are international, and they can be, any company in the world can apply to have it in the website.
Okay.
Product. The problem is that in some cases, these logos that should not be there because of the problems related to teak end up on these controversial products. And so we found that despite the sanctions, in Europe specifically, if we want to talk about Europe here, the European companies imported more than 32 million worth of timber products from Myanmar last year. So, months after the sanction had been in place, and that at the same time, some certification firms had continued to, advertise the sustainability of these companies, even though they should have never been considered green, because obviously they were participating in a way to, in the financing of the military junta.
And what should European states do to really stop the illegal trade?
Sorry, what did you say?
What should European states do to really stop the illegal trade of teak wood from Myanmar?
Well, the problem is that the sanctions are written in a very vague language. So they should just mandate it by law, or agencies, enforcement. There should be more enforcement of these regulations that are in place in some. And I must say, some countries are better than others. I come from Italy, and Italy is the worst country.
Why? Why?
Yes, because we have a very powerful yacht building and ship industry, and even today they keep importing teak, and it's not considered. They may get fined. Companies who are found to be importing teak from Myanmar can be fined, but it's quite rare. There are a lot of complications. It's basically there is not enough enforcement in Italy.
Okay.
Poland is second according to our research, and the other thing that we found was that there are many other countries that have become a middleman to help these companies avoid or circumvent sanctions. Sorry, I wanted to stop sharing. I don't know how to do it. So this is another problem, because in Europe, it's not just some European companies are bad, but also they get the complicity of companies in Singapore, Thailand, Turkey, India, that help circumvent sanctions by rerouting the wood and by renaming it in a different way. And there is not enough attention to this problem. As I said, each European member state has its own problems, and they don't allocate enough resources to officials, to law enforcement in this case. And also it's kind of a forgotten issue, which is the problem that was highlighted before too, that unfortunately is not so present in everyone's mind.
And what impact does it have on deforestation in Myanmar?
So the problem, since 2001, I think, according to some research, an area that is as big as Switzerland has been deforested. So the problem has been going on obviously for years. It's not a recent problem, but as you learned before, the military has been in power for many, many years, and natural resources obviously have become an obvious way of financing their operations. So this, in addition to having implications for the local population, this obviously has huge problems for the impact of the country's resources and forests and environment.
Okay. Your research was published in March in numerous media. Do you have the impression that it led to changes in policies in Europe and Germany?
As journalists, I would like to say yes, of course. What I can say is that there's been attention to our reporting. We've got the European Union has a task force of experts who deal with this issue specifically, and they have been very interested in following up. And the same happened in the US. Even though I know we have a European audience, the US is even worse. Because companies import more, and so I hope that because of our reporting that it was so global, for the first time the officials at the high level started to pay attention. So it is a beginning of something. I cannot say we are going to change the world tomorrow, sorry.
Okay, yeah. Finally, would like to know, how difficult was it for ICIJ to research on this topic, especially in the context of the repression in Myanmar?
Yeah, it was a problem. One of the challenges was obviously to first collaborate with Burmese Myanmar journalists, which we partially did, but we could not name them because we didn't want to expose them to any danger. The second problem was that we could not go there because obviously to do reporting on deforestation, you have to go to very remote areas, and obviously it's very dangerous. And it's not dangerous just for the journalists, but obviously also and especially for the sources in Myanmar. So we could not do that. And in that case, it was good to work out of documents, because you could have the evidence of this trade without having to put anyone in danger there.
Thank you. Sheila Alagi, for your words. Do we have any questions from the audience or from our stream? No? Oh, yes? No. Okay, so we're going to continue.
Okay.
Goodbye, Sheila. Greetings to Berlin.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a nice evening.
Thanks.
So, the audience, it wouldn't be Scala without a film, so we're going to continue with our documentation, Spring Revolution, that takes place in the first days and weeks after the coup in Myanmar. And this film is about 60 minutes. Yes, 60 minutes. And we see you later for the podium. So enjoy watching.
Banဆိုတာကျွေတာကိုကပွင့်ခြင်းပဲတပွင့်ကျွေရင်တပွင့်ဝေလွင်နေမှာပဲနှစ်ပွင့်ကျွေရင်နှစ်ပွင့်ဝေလွင်နေမှာပဲကဲကျွေစမ်းပါအောင်လေယူလေနော့သော့နှင့်မဆုံးလေတင်တုံးလားမုန်တိုင်းလားပဲတအားတိုက်စမ်းကျွေစမ်းပါအောင်ပန်းအဖူးတွေမြေမှာကျွေအောင်မွကျွေစမ်းပါမမှုပါဘူးကျွေတာကိုကပွင့်ခြင်းပဲပန်းအပြီးတမှာဒါပါပဲလေကျွေလို့ကျွေလို့နေကျွေတာကိုကပွင့်ခြင်းပဲဟဲ့
As a young girl, spring was my favorite season. The excitement of the Dinjan Water Festival, evening prayers at the temple, and the beautiful yellow of the badao flowers stirred into bloom. Not one single flower, but a group of buds joined together. They bloom, filling the air with a fresh, woody perfume that smells like hope.
This protest changed me a lot. I feel like I became an adult. I can think really openly and freely.
I was scared, but I went along with my friends to fin in the street, joined the growing crowds. The first time ever raising my voice against the military.
The protest teach me a lot about justice and opened my eyes. I have met so many human rights activists and young leaders. They teach me a lot, and they share knowledge and observation, and the truth about Myanmar, and the truth about people in the world.
We heard drums, people were singing and chanting that the military was against the people, not with the people. I saw Zog, a bandana on his head, leading the drum revolution, filling the air with determination and courage, and I followed them.
Generation set look correct. Generation set the John Lungarima, who you know, Mississippi Napi, internet line a pay, media, a letter and a pay, internet letter and a pay. I kick good, I get it, tell I democracy, see, so I have no giant. Hallelujah, Joe Dilamma, I Lunga blue so omelette. The Lunga land out the Kubo, no blue to omelette. You know, Nangan opinion, democracy sure, a shadow, to no one, and Sura, Nelly, can't I get white, a few of Hobu. Tame, I look can't I Yadaho, to no Popo, you can't I know, through blue, say that the John Lone, blue loads of Biamle. And anything the Ploute Biamle, John Time with a Plouty, solo and Nina can be blue low and less route, no Piatas in Lungari at the Pova. The generation Sakatoro, now so music. Now so music, General. Type way, now so Anashu, and you build it now so web PM. General, you got now so web PM, Anashu, title number, no, Mama machine.
Everyone has such courage, so young and so brave. Once a teacher, he now teaches us all. He keeps nothing in his heart, he will speak out.
To translate, no, Luria. John Luria, I think don't answer the Lobetica. John Time, Babin, through Piazza. Through the lines, no hoop and land. I don't know Chabelina, sit in a ticket in a mobu, Shell a ticket in a mood, the Cabalo Piazza. Pamas will let no calamity. The Pitan, no, and I can. Pardon it, that's no democracy. No, at that way, it's no type of way at Chatkulu, it's no near.
The February first year, Yantala, so my Indian is a thousand by me, okay. Mehita, the type way may be machine, Jobiamala. General Kanzaka Tabe, me Quimbula, Quimbu, Chantuama, show me a movie or Jamila. Dora Tara, Matavani, Dame Matolomia, somebody that Tananga to move along the town. Who went to Toga to Yagam, hoping me. The see me, I pity them and then the Zilla Palo solutions, not to the army.
General the Nangai Lusamu are the Nangai Sen Visa Lusa and Town Sentinel Loka, and Town Sentinel Loma, the မိထီလာအေးခင်းစားဖြစ်တဲ့အခါမှာကျွန်တော်တို့ဝင်ပါကြတယ်ဒီပြိပခါတွေဒီအခြားနယ်နှံ့မပြန့်သွားရေးအတွက်ကျွန်တော်တို့လှုပ်ရှားမှုတွေလုပ်ခဲ့တာရှိမယ်နောက်တစ်ခုကကျတော့တိုင်းလူမျိုးစုတွေရဲ့တပိတ်စစ်ကြောင်းကစုတွေကိုကြည်ပြတ်မှာပဲဒီကချင်တကြောပြန်စစ်ပေါ့နော်ကချင်တကြောပြန်စစ်ပြန်ဖြစ်တဲ့အခါမှာဒီအဲ့ဒီစစ်ပွဲကိုရပ်တန့်ပေးဖို့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီကြပြာတွေနဲ့လှုပ်ရှားရတာတွေဆူတောင်းပွဲတွေဒါမျိုးတွေကနေပြီးတဖြည်းဖြည်းချင်းစတာပေါ့ဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်နားလေတာကတော့ဒီကြပြာရေးရှင်းတာလည်းတနည်းအားဖြင့်နိုင်ငံရေးလုပ်နေခြင်းပဲလို့ကျွန်တော်မြင်တယ်တိုက်ပွဲရှင်လူလူဆန္ဒပြပွဲတွေဆန္ဒထုတ်ဖော်ပွဲတွေမှာဆိုရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့ကဒီအရန်လေးပင်နဲ့ဒီမိန်ကွန်းတွေကြီးပြောနေမဲ့အစားတစ်ခါတည်းမှာဒီလူလူရဲ့အတဲနှလုံးကိုချက်ချင်းထိသွားနိုင်မဲ့ကြပြာမျိုးရွတ်လိုက်တယ်ဆိုရင်ဘုံမကောင်းမှုနားတွေစဉ်းစားမှုလည်းရှိတယ်လက်သုံးချောင်းဟာအာနာရှင်ရဲ့စီချိန်ထိုးထားတဲ့ပြည်သူတွေရဲ့ကြီးစံအမြောက်ဖြစ်တယ်လက်သုံးချောင်းဟာဖက်စစ်စစ်တပ်ကိုမောင်းထုတ်မဲ့မိစ္ဆာနှင်းနံဖြစ်တယ်လက်သုံးချောင်းဟာအာနာရှင်လေချောင်းကိုဖောက်ထုတ်မဲ့ပြည်သူကြားလက်တဲ့ဖြစ်တယ်ငါတို့ချင်းချင်းတွေ့တဲ့အခါလက်သုံးချောင်းထောင်ပြီးနှုတ်ဆက်ကြမတရားမှုတွေထွန်းကားနေတဲ့အခါလက်သုံးချောင်းထောင်ထားအာနာလူစစ်ခွေးတွေကြောက်ဒူးတုံမို့လက်သုံးချောင်းကိုထောင်ထားအာနာရှင်စနစ်ပြတ်သုံးချောင်းမို့ငါတို့အားလုံးလက်သုံးချောင်းကိုထောင်ထားတိုက်ပွဲဟာကျွန်တော်အမြဲတမ်းပြောပါတယ်ဒါအဆုံးသက်တိုက်ပွဲဖြစ်တယ်ဒီ2008ကိုအပြီးတက်ဖို့ရယ်ဒီစစ်အာဏာရှင်စနစ်ကိုကျွန်တော်မြန်မာနိုင်ငံကနေပြီးတော့အပြီးတိုင်းမောင်းထုတ်ဖို့ရယ်အဲ့ဒါကြောင့်မလို့ကျွန်တော်တို့အားလုံးဟာတပါတီတစုတစ်ဖွဲ့လူတူတယောက်လွတ်မြောက်ရေးအတွက်လှုပ်ဆောင်နေတာမဟုတ်ဘဲနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့တိုင်းပြည်လုံးလွတ်မြောက်ရေးအတွက်လှုပ်ဆောင်နေတယ်ဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်ဒီနေရာရှင်းရှင်းလင်းလင်းပြောချင်ပါတယ်
Maung Songkha is a poet who went to prison for demanding free speech. Maung Songkha raised his voice about freedom of expression, genocide against the Rohingya, and the internet blackout in Rakhine State. He put fire in my heart when I heard him speak about the human rights abuses against the Rohingya and our ethnic people.
လက်တလုံးအနေထားရပါတော့လူမျိုး29မျိုးဆိုရင်29မျိုးလုံးရဲ့ represent တယောက်စီပါပြီးတော့အားလုံးကစဉ်းစားဆုံးဖြတ်ပြီးတော့ဘယ်လိုစဉ်းစားမယ်ဘယ်လိုပြောမယ်ဘယ်နေရာမှာဘယ်လိုရက်နာမယ်စသဖြင့်လမ်းကြောင်းကိုစဉ်းစားတာတို့နောက်အခြားတပိတ်ကော်မတီနဲ့ဆွေးနွေးတာတို့ကအစကျွန်တော်တို့ကစူပေါင်းခေါင်းဆောင်တဲ့စနစ်နဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ရအောင်လုပ်တယ်မျိုးသားပြန်လေတင်းမြတ်ရေးလို့ဆိုရယ်ကိစ္စလိုဟာမျိုးကိုဒီနောက်လာမယ့်အစိုးရအနေနဲ့စစ်တပ်နဲ့မဟုတ်ဘဲနဲ့ဒီပြည်သူလူထုနဲ့တိုင်းသားပြည်သူလူထုနဲ့လောက်ရမယ်လို့ကျွန်တော်မြင်ပါတယ်ခင်ဗျအောင်ဆန်းစုကြည် No justice No peace We want democracy Free
I wonder why the protesters wore costumes and danced in the street. And then I saw it catches the eyes of the people here and around the world.
တစ်ဖက်ကဒီစာရေးဆရာကြပြဆရာကာတွန်းဆရာပကြီးဆရာဒါမျိုးတွေကတော့အမြဲတမ်းရှေ့တန်းကနေပြီးတော့ဒီစစ်အာဏာရှင်တော်လှန်ရေးမှာအမြဲတမ်းရှေ့တန်းရှိတယ်နေရာတကာမှာပုံစံမျိုးစုံထူထောင်ပေါင်းစုံကနေလုပ်တဲ့အခါမှာသူတို့ဘယ်ကနေစဖြိုဖျက်မလဲမသိဘူးဒါဟာဒီ2021ခုနှစ်ဒီဒေါ်လန်ရေးရဲ့ဒီကျွန်တော်တို့အခုပြောနေတဲ့ဒီຫນွေဦးဒေါ်လန်ရေးရဲ့ဒါအပြောင်မြောက်ဆုံး အမှုပညာတစ်ခုပြီးရင်အကောင်းဆုံးနီလန် strategy ပေါ့နော် strategy တစ်ခုအနေနဲ့ကျွန်တော်မြင်ပါတယ်ခင်ဗျဒါကြီးအစားပြူသွားရင်တော့ရပြီဆိုလို့ကျွန်တော်ကမကြခင်တော့ဒီဟာကအဖြေပေါ်လာတော့မယ် CGN ကတကယ်အလုပ်ဖြစ်မဖြစ်ပေါ်လာလိမ့်မယ်ဒါပေမဲ့အခုအားလုံးရဲ့ရီမန်းချက်ကလည်းလမ်းပေါ်တက်ရုံနေမဟုတ်ဘူး CGN လောက်ကြတာတို့နောက်တစ်ခုကကျတော့ကျွန်တော်ပြောအားလုံးဝိုင်းစဉ်းစားပြီးတော့ဘုံရန်လူကိုပဲအပြက်ချီမုန်းကြတာပေါ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကြားထဲမှာမညီညွတ်
အဲ့ဒါမလို့လောကြီးကိုစီးတော့မယ်အိမ်မှာနေတဲ့လူတွေအားလုံး CDN လုပ်ဖို့တိုက်တွန်းပေးတာပါအဲ့ဒါမလို့ကျွန်တော်ပြောချင်ပါတယ်ဒီနေ့မှာကျွန်တော်တို့တော်မှုကင်းမဲ့နေပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါမလို့ဒီနှစ်ပတ်ဆိုတာအားရတီလက်ပြုဆိုင်တဲ့အပတ်ဖြစ်တယ်ဒါကြောင့်မလို့ကျွန်တော်ဒီနှစ်ပတ်ထဲမှာကျွန်တော်တော်လည်းရဆက်တယ်ကျန်တယ်အတောက်ရှိပဲဒါကြောင့်မလို့ကြောက်ဆုံးနေတဲ့ရဲဘော်တို့တိစ္ဆာပေါက်ပါလားကြောက်ဆုံးတဲ့ရဲဘော်တို့တိစ္ဆာပေါက်ပါလားတော့ပြည်သူတွေညီရလား
Our movement grew stronger, 3 fingers held high. The civil disobedience movement was growing. Everyone joined in. Grammars, banks, the port. The whole country came together in protest. Everyone feels this time we can change history.
ဒီလဲထဲမှာကျွန်တော်တို့ကလဲထဲဆိုတာရန်ကုန်မြို့ရဲ့ကျောင်းသူကျောင်းသားအများဆုံးရှိတဲ့နေရာနေရလာတဲ့လူဖြစ်တယ်ကျွန်တော်ခုနိုင်ကလည်းပဲကျွန်တော်တောင်ကြီးရဆိုရယ်နေရလာတယ်ရန်ကုန်ကအခြေစိုက်တဲ့လူမဟုတ်ဘူးဒီနေရာ migrants လို့ခေါ်တယ်ပေါ့နော်လူတွေရွှေ့ပြောင်းလုပ်သားတွေအများကြီးရှိကျောင်းသူကျောင်းသားတွေအများကြီးရှိလူမျိုးစုံနဲ့ဘာသာစုံနဲ့အရွယ်အစားစုံအခုရှိတယ်နောက်နံပါတ်1ချက်ကကြတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီကိုလာပြီးလုပ်တဲ့ချိန်မှာ CTU မှုခေါ်တဲ့အလုပ်သမားသမဂ္ဂအဖွဲ့တစ်ဖွဲ့ကကျွန်တော်တို့ကိုလာပေါင်းတယ်သူတို့ကကြတော့ဒီအလုပ်ရှင်တွေကိုသူတို့မချင်တတ်ဘူးဒီဆေးရနာရှင်တွန်းလှန်နေဆိုရည်ရွယ်ချက်နဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့လာပေါင်းတယ်ပေါ့
Yin Yang was like an older sister. I had so much to learn from her about the Rohingya, about women's rights, and about the real meaning of human rights.
ကျွန်တော်တို့အများအားတိုက်တွန်းနေမှာပါဒါတွေကဒီမိုကရေစီရဲ့စံနှုန်းစံထားတွေဖြစ်တယ်ဒါတွေကလူသားတယောက်ရဲ့ရပိုင်ခွင့်ဖြစ်ရေးဖြစ်တယ်ဆိုတာကိုကျွန်တော်တို့နိုင်ငံရေးမျှော်မှန်းချက်နဲ့တူတွန်းလှန်ပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့တိုင်းရင်းသားလူမျိုး135မျိုးကိုစုစည်းပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော် Federal Democracy ရရှိအောင်ကျွန်တော်ဖော်ဆောင်သွားမှာပါကျွန်တော်နိုင်ငံက Democracy ကိုပြီးခဲ့တဲ့9နှစ်တာကာလခဏတာခံစားလိုက်ရတယ်ကျွန်တော်တို့မှာလူခွင့်ရေးချိုးဖောက်မှုတွေအများကြီးရှိခဲ့တယ်ဒီနိုင်ငံမှာလေအဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့တကယ်လို့ဒီမျိုးဆက်က Democracy ဒါဆက်ရခဲ့မယ်ဆိုကျွန်တော်ဒီလိုလူခွင့်ရေးချိုးဖောက်မှုတွေကိုမလုပ်ဖို့ကျွန်တော်တို့လူတိုင်းကိုကျွန်တော်မြန်မာနိုင်ငံသားအားလုံးကိုတိုက်တွန်းပါတယ်
I used to argue with people about the Rohingya and ethnic people, not believing the stories of abuse and killings. I believed the lines fed to us by the military to defend their brutality against the Rohingya people and our ethnic friends. Now I must apologize to them and stand with them.
ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီရိုဟင်ဂျာတွေရဲ့အမျိုးသမီးငယ်တွေရဲ့ခံစားရတဲ့ဒုက္ခတွေရှိတယ်နောက်ခါကျရိုဟင်ဂျာရွာတွေပြီးရှုခံရတာရှိတယ်နောက်သူတို့စိတ်ထဲမှာထင်တာရိုဟင်ဂျာလို့ထင်တယ်သူတို့မွတ်စလင်လို့ထင်တာဘာလို့ဆိုဒီနိုင်ငံကဗုဒ္ဓဘာသာနိုင်ငံသူတို့သိတာအဲ့ဗုဒ္ဓဘာသာဆိုသူတို့လူကြီးတွေကလည်းပြောထားဆိုတော့ဘာလို့လက်ခံရပါလဲဒီလူတွေဘာလို့လက်ခံရပါလဲမဟုတ်ဘူးဒါလူခွင့်ရေးလူသားတိုင်းကကိုယ်မွေးဖွားရနေရမှာပိုင်ဆိုင်ခွင့်ရှိတယ်ဒါသူတို့လည်းပိုင်ဆိုင်တယ်တမိုင်းเจ้าသွားကြည့်သူတို့နဲ့ညင်းရတာပေါ့ခုံရတာပေါ့အဲ့ကိုအချက်လက်လေးထုတ်ပြပေါ့တမိုင်းเจ้าနေပါရင်မကြည့်ဘူးဒီပါမင်းမွေးတယ်ဆိုရင်ဒီမြေပါမင်းလည်းခံရမှုရှိတယ်အဲ့လူသားချင်းကုညီစာနာထောက်ထားရပေါ့အခုငါတို့ဒီလိုဖြစ်တယ်ငါတို့ဒီလိုဖြစ်တယ်လူသားချင်းငါတို့သူများကစာနာဖို့ဆိုရင်ငါတို့ကအရင်သူများကိုစာနာရပါမယ်ဆိုတော့ပြောမှသူတို့ကအော်ငါတို့မားခဲ့ပါလားပေါ့ဒါလို့လူသားမဆန်ခဲ့ဘူးပေါ့
I believe what the state media told us about the Rohingya and the ethnic armies, that they made trouble for our country. My parents believed the same way, and I didn't pay too much attention to the news. There was fighting throughout the country in Kachin, Shan, Rakhine, Chin, and Kayin states. But I never saw with my own eyes how our ethnic people have suffered. For so many years, the military has threatened, abused, and killed the ethnic people. They tore our country apart, a country of so many different people, different beliefs, and different languages. We didn't think about each other as brothers and sisters. They stole our chance to know each other, help each other, and love each other.
ကျွန်တော်ကိုယ်တိုင်ဗမာဖြစ်တယ်အဲ့ကကြတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ဗမာတွေဟာမတိလိုက်မတိပါတာခွဲခြားဆက်ဆံတဲ့ဟာကိုလုပ်လို့ရှိတယ်ဒါကဟို ကိုတခါလေကြတော့ငါကတော့အဲ့လိုမျိုးတိုင်းရင်းသားတွေလည်းချစ်ပါတယ်ဘာညာနဲ့အဲ့လိုလူတွေကအဲ့လိုရှောက်ပြောတတ်ကြပြီမဲ့တကယ်ကြတော့မဟုတ်ဘူးသူကကိုအခြားသူတွေကြီးမြတ်တယ်လို့ခံစားပြီးတော့ပြောဆိုတာတွေလှုပ်ဆောင်တာတွေကျွန်တော်တို့ရှိတတ်တယ်အဲ့တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အဲ့ရနေရုံထွက်ရတယ်ဒီစနစ်ကနေတယ်မဟုတ်ဘူးနောက်တစ်ခုကじゃဒီအတွေးခေါ်ဒီလို environment ကနေပြီးကျွန်တော်တို့ရုံထွက်ရတယ်
ဘယ်ဘာသာမဆိုကျွန်တော်အာဏာရှင်တွန်းလှန်မယ်မှားခဲ့ရရှိမယ်ကျွန်တော်တောင်းပန်တယ်ကျွန်တော်ရှေ့ချောက်ကျွန်တော်ဒီမိုကရေစီကိုပုံမှန်နားလည်အောင်လုပ်မယ်ဆိုတဲ့ပုံစံလေး generation ဆက်တင်ပြောင်း
Now we have lots of experience and now we can see each other's heart. Now people like desire and their feelings about ethnic people and also Rohingya changing. Now they realize and now they can understand what they were suffering in past 7 decades.
The army was like our father. It felt that way then. I believed the story from the government news and didn't trust media like DVB or VOA, Mizimad, and the ARD. But the real stories come to us through journalists who sacrifice their lives to bring the truth of Myanmar to the world. Leaders like Masanka are precious for our generation and the next.
ကျွန်တော်အာနာသိန်းတဲ့နေ့ကနေစပြီးတော့နော်ဒီဖေဖော်ဝါရီလ1ရက်နေ့ကနေကကျွန်တော်ရှိရနေရာတွေလိုက်ရှာတယ်ရဲတွေရောစစ်သားတွေရောလိုက်ရှာတယ်ပြီးတော့နောက်ထပ်အဲ့ဒါပြီးတော့တစ်ပတ်လောက်ကြာမှလဲကျွန်တော်အိမ်ကိုရဲတွေရောက်လာပြီးတော့ရဲရောက်20လောက်နဲ့ကျွန်တော်အိမ်ကိုညဘက်မှာဝင်စီးတာလည်းရှိတယ်ကျွန်တော်အိမ်လုံးလည်းဝင်ပြီးသွားတယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့တော့သူကအဲ့နေ့ကနေကကျွန်တော်ဖမ်းမှုကြိုးစားတယ်ဒါပြီးခဲ့တဲ့ရက်ပိုင်းမှာတော့ဒီစာရေးဆရာကြပြဆရာတဲကနေပြီးတော့ဒီစာရဖဘက်ကနေဖမ်းဆီးမှုစီစဉ်ထားတဲ့စီရင်ဖြည့်ဝဲဆိုပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်ထွက်လာရှိရအယောက်60ကျော်လောက်ပါတယ်အဲ့မှာဆိုရင်ကျွန်တော်ကတော့ထိတ်ဆုံးမှာပါနေတာကိုမြင်ရတယ်ပေါ့ဆိုတော့အဲ့ဒါအတူလားအချက်လားမသိဘူးမြဲချင်းနေတာကတော့ကျွန်တော်ကဒီအာနာသိန်းနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့သူတို့ဖမ်းမှုကြိုးရတယ်ဆိုတော့ထင်ရှားပြီးသား
ကျွန်တော်ဆိုင်ဝါးတွေကျွန်တော်တို့ပေးတယ်ညဘက်ချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်တို့ဖမ်းတော့မယ်စီးတော့မယ်ပုံမှန်တင်လေးလိုမျိုးနဲ့ပေးပြီးတော့ဒါစိတ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာနှိပ်စက်ကျွန်တော်တို့ပြည်သူတွေလက်နက်မရှိဘူးအဲ့တော့လက်နက်မရှိတဲ့သူတွေကိုတရားလက်မဲ့ပြုကျင်တာကိုကျွန်တော်တို့လုံးဝမခံနိုင်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်ပထမတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အာဏာသိမ်းတာစန့်ကျင်တဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်ဆန္ဒပြတာအခုကျတော့ပူပြင်းလာပြီကျွန်တော်တို့လူခွင့်ရေးကပါပုံတောင်းဆိုနေတဲ့အတွက်ကြောင့်ကျွန်တော်တို့ကဆန္ဒပြခြင်းကိုမရက်မနာပဲဆက်တိုက်သွားမယ်နေတိုင်းထွက်လာဖြစ်ပါတယ်
28 February, Milk Tea Alliance Day. I went to the Journal Street strike with GSCN. Once I jumped off from the taxi, I had to run because I heard the boom, sound boom. At the time I was so scared and then my knees were shaking so bad. But I stayed chanting slogans, expressing my feelings with the peaceful protester together.
Saထွက်ဖို့ပြင်နေတော့ဘောနော်ဒီစစ်ကြောင်းတန်းစီနေတော့ချိန်မှာပဲရဲတွေအတင်းဝင်ရိုက်တယ်ကျွန်တော်ဟို tear gas နဲ့ပစ်တယ်ပြီးရင်တို့ကဒီဟိုအတန်ဘုံတွေလည်းခွဲတယ်ဗောနော်ခွဲပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့အတင်းဝင်ရိုက်တယ်ကျွန်တော်ပြေးဝင်သွားတယ်ညီရဟဲ့ညီရဟဲ့ညီရဟဲ့တနိုင်ငံလုံးတိုင်းတာနဲ့ဖန်ခံအယောက်900ကျော်လောက်ရှိတယ်ကျွန်တော်သိရတယ်ဆိုတော့ဒါသူတို့ဘက်ကကိုထုတ်ပြန်နေတာပေါ့နော်ဒါအကြမ်းများဖြင့်ကျွန်တော်ဟို900နဲ့1000ကြားမှာရှိလိမ့်မယ်လို့ကျွန်တော်တို့မြင်တယ်ဆိုတော့ဟိုဖန်ခံရတာတွေမဟုတ်ဘူးနောက်တစ်ခုကျတော့ဒီပြစ်တက်ခံရတာတွေရှိတယ်ဆိုတော့အနေနဲ့ရဲမှာတနိုင်ငံလုံးတိုင်းတာနဲ့အဲ့ဒီတနင်္ဂနွေနေ့တရက်ထဲမှာလည်းကျွန်တော်တို့18ဦးဟိုပြစ်တက်ခံခဲ့ရတာကျွန်တော်တို့တွေ့ရတယ်ဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့လူတွေအများကြီးထပ်တည်ရမယ်လို့ကျွန်တော်မြင်နေတယ်ဒီပုံစံတိုင်းဆက်သွားမယ်ဆိုရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့မှာပွင့်လင်းပြောမယ်ဆိုရင်ဟိုကျွန်တော်တို့ကိုယ်တိုင်ဒါဒီလိုဟာတွေဥဆောင်နေရပြီးတော့အတင်းထားရပြီမယ်ခါကျတော့ဟုတ်တယ်ဖြစ်တာလူနေတင်းနေအဲ့လိုကျွန်တော်တို့လည်းဝမ်းနေကျွန် ကျွန်တော်တို့ဘာမှလုံးမပေးနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့လူလည်းမထွက်လာအောင်ကျွန်တော်လုပ်ခဲ့ဒါတော့ကျွန်တော်ကဘာမကြည့်ဘူး
Please, sister, if I die, please let the world know what I have done and how much I support these people. And I promised him, yeah, you are doing such amazing things that I have never done. And I said, I promise I'll be the person who's gonna talk about you and speak about you, what you have done for this revolution. I am worried because he is kind of like a younger brother to me. So I'm worried if he make the mistake about hiding or if they arrested him, I'm worried. I think they're gonna kill him. Because he's a well-known person right now, and military people want him.
များကြီးမန္တလေးမှာပထမဦးဆုံးကျွန်တော်ပြစ်သွင်းလိုက်အဲ့လိုပြစ်သွင်းတဲ့အချိန်မှာကျွန်တော်လည်းသူတို့ပြစ်သွင်းတာကိုကျွန်တော်အမတမဒေါသထွက်ပါတယ်။ဘာကြောင့်လဲဆိုတော့ဒီတမြေရဲနေတရီရဲတောက်တဲ့လူတွေကျွန်တော်တည်သွားတာ။အဲ့လိုတည်တော့ကျွန်တော်ကြားတဲ့အဲ့ဒီစက်တိုက်နေတော့မယ်။နောက်ပိုင်းလေးကျမှရန်ကုန်ကိုစလာတဲ့အချိန်မှာရန်ကုန်စလာရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့လှဲတန်းလိုနေရာမှာဘိုက်ပွင့်တဲ့ကလေးတွေပွင့်တယ်။ခေါင်းအထိသွားတဲ့မျက်လုံးပေါက်တဲ့ကလေးတွေလည်းရှိတယ်။သူတို့တွေလည်းပြစ်သွားတာအများကြီးပဲ။အဲ့လိုပြစ်တယ်မှာကျွန်တော်ပြစ်တော့နည်းနည်းလေးကြောက်လာတယ်။ကျွန်တော်မှအဲ့လိုကြောက်နေတဲ့အချိန်မှာပဲဒါပေမဲ့ဒီကောင်တွေကနောက်ပိုင်းကျတော့အကြမ်းဖက်ပုံတွေဖြိုခွင်းလာတယ်။ဒါကျွန်တော်တို့စိတ်ထဲမှာတော့ခံစားမှုကတော့အရင်ကြီးမှာပါတယ်။ဒါပေမဲ့ကျွန်တော်ငြိမ်းနေဆန္ဒပြလို့မရတော့။အဲဒီမှာသူတို့တော့ကျွန်တော်အကြမ်းဖက်တဲ့နေမဟုတ်ဘူး။အဲ့တော့သူဆိုရင်သူကဟွာလာတယ်ကချင်ကလာတာအဲ့လိုပုံစံလေးကချင်လာတဲ့တကယ်ချင်းလေးသူကလာတော့သူဘာပြောလဲဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်ငါတို့မင်းတို့စစ်တပ်ကိုအရန်မုန်းနေတယ်ငါတို့မှအိမ်ဒီပိုင်းမီးရှို့တယ်ခိုင်းရလူတွေပိုင်းဆွဲသွားတယ်ကျွန်တော်ဟဲ့အောင်မဖြစ်နိုင်ဘူးကျွန်တော်ကဒီဟိုပြောမယ်ဆိုတော့ brain wash လောက်ကန်ထားတဲ့ပုံစံသတင်းမှောင်ကြတဲ့ခေတ်ကိုကျွန်တော်ကမြင်ခဲ့တယ်ပြီးတော့ဟာဒါတွေမဖြစ်နိုင်ပါဘူးကိုယ်တိုင်လည်းမကြုံတွေ့သေးပါဘူးဒါပေမဲ့ကျွန်တော်စာအုပ်လေးဖတ်တယ်အဲ့ဒီမှာသူတို့ဘလောက်တောင်ရှုံးပါခဲ့လဲဆိုတာပြန်တွေ့ရတယ်အမှတ်1အဲ့တော့ပြီးတော့ကျွန်တော်ဗမာဆက်တွေလဲဆိုတော့ဒီနေရာတွေမှာညဘက်ဆိုရင်ဒီကောင်တွေကဝင်ဆွဲကြတယ်။အော်ငါတို့တိုင်းသားတွေလည်းဒီလိုဖြစ်ပါလား။ကျွန်တော်တို့ကအင်တာနက်ကိုကျွန်တော်က1ရက်နေ့ကနေ2ရက်3ရက်လောက်ပဲဖြတ်ခံထားတယ်။ရခိုင်မှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အင်တာနက်အများကြီးဖြတ်ခံထားတယ်။လမ်းနဲ့ကြီးနှစ်နဲ့ကြီးဖြတ်ခံထားတယ်။ဒါတွေကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ကိုချင်းမစားခဲ့ဘူး။နောက်ပိုင်းကျတော့ကျွန်တော်စာတမ်းတွေတွေ့ရပါတယ်။အချို့တိုင်းသားတွေကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ကိုချင်းမစားပေးမိတဲ့အတွက်တောင်းပန်ပါတယ်ဆိုတဲ့စာတမ်းလေးတွေ့ရတယ်။ဒါတွေကကျွန်တော်ပြည်သူတွေကတိုင်းသားတွေပေါ့ကိုချင်းစာတက်လာပြီ။နားလဲတက်လာပြီ။ဒီကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီမှာရှိတဲ့လူတွေအားလုံးကကျွန်တော်ညီနောင်သားချင်းတွေပဲ။ညီနောင်သားချင်းတွေကျွန်တော်ဒီမြဲနေတည်းတော့တယ်နှလုံးသွေးရလဲနီးကနေတခုဖြစ်ရှမ်းအောင်ထိလဲကျွန်တော်ညှိတာပဲကချင်အောင်ထိလဲကျွန်တော်ညှိရပဲတိုင်းတိုင်းအားလုံးထိလဲကျွန်တော်ရင်ထဲညှိရပဲသူတို့ပြစ်ခဲ့တဲ့ကြည်စံအားလုံးကကျွန်တော်နှလုံးသားကိုပြန်လုပ်ဝင်နေရတယ်အဲ့ဒီကြောင့်မလို့ကိုယ့် responsibility ကိုတာဝန်ယူမှုပေါ့နော်တာဝန်ယူမှုအများကြီးရှိရမယ်ကိုနှလုံးသားထဲမှာခံစားရတော့သူတို့အားလုံးအတွက်ကျွန်တော်အရှိရဘယ်လိုတိုက်ပွဲဝင်ပေးရမလဲဆို
ကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီတိုင်းရင်းသားတွေဟာဆိုရင်ဒီစစ်အာဏာရှင်ရဲ့ဖိနှိပ်မှုပြီးလို့ရှိရင်စစ်အာဏာရှင်ဒါမှကဒီအာဏာရှင်မိသည့်အာဏာရှင်တွေမဆိုရဲ့ဖိနှိပ်မှုတွေဟာကျွန်တော်တို့ဒီတိုင်းသားတွေမှာဆိုရင်ဒေသတွေမှာဆိုရင်ပေါ့နော်အထူးခံစားနေရတာ
I've heard my friends from all over the Myanmar who have been taken in and haven't heard anything back. I have no idea where they are and I have no idea whether they are safe or not. Of course, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that they would shoot me in the heart. I'm afraid that I would be die. I'm afraid that I could be someone that couldn't do anything. I just couldn't stay at home. Okay. They come back again and they shoot again at 4 or 5 p.m. Yes. They shoot into the apartment and also aim me to the air. Yeah.
When they roam the streets at night, searching homes and shooting into windows. We call them dogs and bang on pots in protest.
ကျွန်တော်အပြင်မှာထားလို့မရဘူးဆိုတာကိုအဲ့ကနေကသူတို့နားလေခဲ့ပုံလို့ကျွန်တော်မြင်တယ်ကံကောင်းထောက်မှစွာနဲ့ကျွန်တော်ကအဲ့ဒီချက်ဒီမှာအိမ်မှာမရှိဘဲနဲ့အခြားနေရာတစ်ခုမှာရောက်နေတဲ့အတွက်ကျွန်တော်ကသူတို့ဖန်စီထိန်းသိမ်းခြင်းကနေပြီးတော့လွတ်မြောက်နေခြင်းဖြစ်တယ်မြောက်ဆိုတော့ဒီလိုအုပ်ထားတဲ့အချိန်မှာစကားပြောတော့လေ
Every night they kept the internet, and every morning we looked to see where protesters attacked, who was arrested, how many were killed. They were looking for Mount Sanka to take him away. So and Yinye were also at risk. No one is safe anymore.
ရှေ့ဆက်သွားမယ်တာဝန်တွေကတော့ကျွန်တော်ကိုယ်တိုင်ဒီဟာကိုမရချင်းတိုက်သွားမယ်တကယ်လို့လုံးဝအဆင်မပြေတော့ဘူးတကယ်နိုင်ငံတကာအကူအညီပါမှလည်းမရှိတော့ဆိုလို့ရှင်တော့ကျွန်တော်တိုင်းပြည်လက်နက်ကင်တင်တော့ကျွန်တော်ကင်ရမယ်ဗျာ
We are angry. We are scared. We are worried. And also we are so upset. Also we hate them so much. We don't want this military coup. We don't want those military soldiers and police who are killing our civilians and peaceful protesters on the street without control and with no laws. Some of our friends are like hiding and running because they are arresting our people, our friends. We are just trying to get back our country, our beautiful country, our beautiful people, our precious leaders who's going to bring our bright future, the democracy. But this military are ruin our life, ruin our future. And they wanna destroy our lives to keep their power, to make money.
From Yangon to Mandalay to Mongyua, Pa'an, Daoji, Galei, Sagai, Sidwe, and Myitkyina, the people keep rising. The military kill students, workers, teachers, poets, and children, and the people keep rising.
Away again! Please keep everyone. Collective conviction has led.
I had a really hard time. I don't want to leave my country. Not because of my family. It was because of my friends, sister and brother who were protesting on the street, who were sacrificing their lives on the street. So I did a really hard decision, I guess. But I'm gonna keep fighting wherever I am.
But in Myanmar,
they're using live bullets and to shoot, and also they shoot only to the head. I will stay fighting for my country and everyone who wants justice and peace. This is for the people who want democracy, who need justice and peace and human rights all over the world. Thank you so much. Mount Sangka, Zo, and Yunye, they are telling the truth. They are speaking out about the truth information and the real situation in Myanmar.
နှစ်ယောက်တန်းရင်လူနှစ်တန်းထွက်မယ်ဆိုတာမျိုးပဲကျွန်တော်တို့လူတို့ဟာစိတ်သက်ပို့ခိုင်မာလာခဲ့ပြီးအကြောက်တရားရှိတဲ့လူကရှိကောင်းရှိနေမယ်ဒါပေမဲ့အဲ့ဒီအကြောက်တရားကိုပဲကျွန်တော်တို့တွန်းလှန်ဖယ်ရှားရင်းနဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့တက်တီကိုမွေးတယ်ရှေ့ကိုထပ်ထွက်တယ်ကြားတဲ့နည်းရဲ့တော်လှန်မှုကြိုးစားကြလို့ကျွန်တော်
They have true heart and pure heart. They have energy. We need people like them. We need people like those generations who can educate the rest of the people who doesn't know about politics, human rights, and the peace, and also justice. But I don't know. I won't forget them. They're always in my heart.
Let them ababe, be do osago, ko weto, the ko. Let them kind tabi, be do osago, luyeto, the mia. The ko so mea. The mia so meane. A pedoma, Pamela soya. Dory, ba pipit. Down day, ba pipit. Midday, ba pipit. Only chithalo, dime pigo chip yabi. See a nickel, cold sote, Ludanzari. Through Palengo, dear Jim Yimoso. Oda thin Jim Madam, and up yawnet, Tim Mappy, Yip Bakajare, Ludanzari. Eddie Ludanzari go say yebo, a pay, Pada Diaga. အဖေကိုခွင့်မပြုရင်အဲ့ဒီဘာသာတရားကနေကြောခိုင်းပြီးအဖေအစားသားဆဲရေးပြစေအဖေအခုထိအဖေမသိသေးပေမဲ့အဖေသားကြီးဟာလူကောင်းသူကောင်းတွေအပေါ်အကြမ်းမဖက်ဖို့ရဲတပ်ဖွဲ့ဆိုတာကြီးကိုတောင်းဆိုရင်းကမတရားတဲ့လမ်းကျုပ်အုံမတွေနဲ့ထောင်ထဲမှာအချုပ်ချနေလေရဲ့တနေ့မှတော့ပခိုးမဟုတ်တဲ့အဖေသားကဓမြမဟုတ်တဲ့အဖေသားကအဖေအတွက်အားလည်းဖြစ်ရပါစေမယ်အဖေဒါလည်းဖြစ်ရပါစေမယ်အဖေအခုနေမှတော့အဖေပခုံးနဲ့ထွန်ရက်ထားပြီးရေလွှမ်းသွားတဲ့ရာမြေပြင်တွေကိုငေးရီချီမော်ရင်တောင်သူလယ်သမားတမကတချင်းကိုပဲစိုးနေရပါအောင်မဖေရေတာကေစာဝင်တာယာဝတီဘဟုအကျဉ်းတောင်အဆောင်30အခန်း1
On my micro. So, now you have seen the film, and now we would like to pick up this film and talk about the current situation in Myanmar. And Nikki is still with me, and we have another specialist on this topic. That's Felix Hajduk from Stiftung Wissenschaft and Politik in Berlin, and he's right now in Berlin. Felix, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much for having me.
Good evening, Felix. I have to, sorry. My micro doesn't work. Okay, now it's better. So, Felix, okay, now I have to switch the micro, sorry.
So, machen wir es so. Felix, kannst du mich immer noch hören? Can you hear me?
Ja.
Okay, fine. Nikki, I would like to start with you. Following the film, what happened with the peaceful protesters? Are there still forms of political protest or just civil war?
There are several different dynamics of the resistance going on. So first is first of all, we begin with the non-violent protests. Right now, most of the non-violent protests crashed down, so they cannot continue. But they created a new idea like flash mob, and they still carry some kinds of non-violent protests in some area where military cannot control. But non-violent protests still continue. Sometimes, we cannot see the whole country, but only a major events are portrayed in the Western media. So most of the people don't know what is happening inside the country. So some people only know about the national unity government and other armed forces joining the fighting. but also there are different kinds of activism emerge. Some new actors, civil society actors, new activism, new actors. Not only civil war, but also different forms of resistance against the military junta. So people decision. So I respect everyone who are still continuing their non-violent activity, but also who are joining the armed forces and engaged in civil war. So there are different dynamics that have been going on in the country since. And also one of the things, so this documentary is created at least 2 years ago. So the number showing in the movie is now 10 times or 20 times reasons that civilian have been killed, the number of death toll, and also IDP, internally displaced people, and also refugees in Myanmar border, India border, China border. So these numbers are getting rise and rise because the military continue killing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. Felix, I'd like to know what is the current situation in terms of control of the territory between armed groups and the military? Can you give us a short overview, maybe in percent?
Well, there's no real reliable data on this. So, I mean, there have been attempts made by analysts to give numbers. Some claim that more than half of all townships are not under the control of the junta anymore. Some go even higher than that. Some do question these numbers very much. It seems to me that the situation is very much in large parts of the country is very much in flux. So a data point from say 2-3 months ago might not be valid anymore today, and so on and so forth. So it's a very fluid situation in terms of who controls townships, the junta, PDFs, EAOs, and others. So there's also now a multitude, a plethora of armed groups. Some from the ethnic minorities background, some are associated with the NUG, others operate independently of the NUG. So that also kind of contributes to this, from an analytical point of view, like messy picture, in the sense that it's not really clear how much territory the junta really still controls. But I think what's definitely observable is that claims by the junta leadership that they are basically in control, that they're actually planning to run elections next year, that they will be successful, and so on and so forth. I think we can safely say they're wrong. That's not what's observable. But to give you like a precise number, I think it's impossible at the moment. But from what I gather, and again, this is all research conducted basically from Berlin, right? There's no way for me at the moment to travel to Myanmar and conduct and verify this. But from what I gathered is that especially along the areas that are controlled by the KNU, along the border with Thailand, there you have I think sufficient information that suggests that there are various townships that are permanently under control of the KNU and its affiliates, where you even now have reports that they set up independent schools, independent local administration, and so on and so forth. And these were areas previously controlled by the junta. So there's that, but precise numbers, I'm afraid I can't give you.
Okay. Nikki, do you agree?
Yeah, to get the real up-to-date data is challenging, but what I can agree with those is military is losing their stability and control in the different part of the country, so they are losing. But the kinds of state institution, state security forces is institutionalized, and also they still have resources, and also some of the countries like Russia, China, and also South Sea country, they are still exporting military weapons, and they are still buying because of the tea and other natural resources. So they still control those natural resources, and they still access to the funding. So that's why military still have a huge access to the international weapons. And so one of the idea is the international embargo, and also sections should include in the cutting their aerial fuel, because of the military is now using all the time the air strike in those areas. So they cannot deploy. Another point is I also studied the military recruitment. So before the coup, their recruitment is average 25,000 up to 30,000 per year. So that's the average recruitment. But after the coup, so year by year, they cannot get the new recruitment. So in the active military, according to some data sets, like they have 300,000 soldiers and combatant soldier, maybe 150,000 combatant soldiers. But now they don't have that kinds of combatant troops in their army. So right now they are using some kinds of paramilitary or a kinds of recruited from the civilian. So they are not trained military soldiers, but they are kinds of military supporter, and they become a kinds of people fighting for the military. So in that setting, very hard to justify and hard to say who are controlling the territory.
Yeah, and in this context, I would like to know about the humanitarian and economic situation with regard to access to food, healthcare, schooling, work, etc.
Right now, I really appreciate our national unity governments and other EAO or ERO. They have their own territory, and also they are establishing new territory. So they are fighting and military losing in those territory, and so those experts, they are establishing new institution, new administrative, new judiciary system. So like I said in my presentation, there are a lot of power vacuum. So, but the national unity government and allies are establishing new institution to deliver health services or any other services to the people, because without, these services, people will be, their life will be hard. But another problem is like a country and also United Nations and UN agency only deal with the military junta to deliver their assistance. So one of my recommendations in my presentation is that they also should talk to the national unity government and also other ethnic organizations, because they have their administration territory and they have services. So they are, a lot of IDP and refugee are not in the area controlled by the military. Most of them are area controlled by the ethnic armed organization, ethnic control area. We call that as a liberated area. So those in those areas, more and more refugee, more and more in IDPs going and living there. So they need humanitarian assistance, not through channel with the military junta. So if UN agency and any other humanitarian agency working with the military junta, it is a kind of directly or indirectly giving a legitimacy, so recognizing their legitimacy or existence. So they have to reformulate and rethink about how reconstruct their approach, not with the military, but also other channel, cross-border and other option.
Yeah, you mentioned NUG and Felix as well. Felix, can you shortly explain how is NUG emerged, or how has they emerged, and what's the difference to the NLD?
Yeah, right. So the national unity government is essentially the attempt to basically form an inclusive government, inclusive meaning representatives of the Bamar ethnic majority plus the ethnic minorities that were up until the post-coup era widely at the basically considered to be, or well, de facto at the margins of national politics in Myanmar for decades, and to basically form an inclusive coalition of representatives of the Bamar ethnic majority in opposition to the junta, obviously, right? It's not a pro-junta institution, and members of the ethnic minorities. So that's the idea there, and the idea politically is to abolish the 2008 constitution and to turn Myanmar or transform Myanmar into a democratic and a federalist state, and this is in my perspective something that's definitely new. If you look at Myanmar politics, that's something in a way unprecedented, one could say, especially at that level in Myanmar politics.
So we do not have a fragmented opposition, or is it still fragmented?
Well, ideally, no, but in reality, if we look at reports from the ground, the situation again is a bit more messy. Not just with the armed groups that already alluded to, where you have some operating basically that are closely associated with the NUG, others not. I mean, the aim was also with armed groups for the NUG to bring them under control. Basically, the argument was there should just be one People's Defense Force unit per township, and they should report basically to the NUG Defense Ministry. That's in reality, we know now, has not materialized. There are many PDFs and other armed groups that refuse to come under the command of the NUG for various reasons, including some essentially operating de facto as bandits at times, extorting tax via roadblocks, and others for political reasons. That's actually the majority, as far as I know. But yeah, there's that, and that's politically also has turned out to be quite difficult in the sense that some ethnic armed organizations, but also some political organizations representing ethnic minority have been either sitting on the fence with regards to joining the NUG or have actually outright refused to join. So yeah, the idea is there and the attempts were made, and it has been partially successful, but only partially successful, I would argue, politically as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Nikki, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I agree. In some state like a Shan state, the politics is the more complicated than what we know from the outside. So some EAO or EAO, they're just sitting on the fence, like not joining, waiting. But some of them, they are gaining the territory because the military withdraw their troops and engaging in other areas. So it's mean like, whether they are joining or not, but sometimes they are providing their resources to the fighters, the PDF, who are engaging and fighting against the military. So sometimes it's hard to say like whether physically they are not engaging, but behind the scenes they are providing their resources. They are sharing their resources to the other party. And also in that respect, there are a lot of diverse and various political groups. But I see people's strong determination and fighting against their we call common enemy. So we see military as a terrorist group and as one common enemy. So it's hard to say how much we are united against the military, but right now what I can see and what I can say is compared with the last 2 years from since the coup and now the current update and development in the country. So military is losing. So normally when you look at the historically 1962 coup and 1988 coup, military stabilized the country within 6 years. But now they attempted the coup, so we still use the words they attempted the coup. It means they are still stabilizing and controlling the country, and they haven't fully stabilized and controlled yet. But now they are losing. So most of the township area, like mentioned, so different security actors emerge and they are controlling those areas. But whether they are enter directly command or NUG is another questionable. But I believe like people from those areas, they have their right to control their area. So they are the people who live there. They know their situation, they know their territory, and then NUG sometimes, came out of the legitimacy question because of the election in 2020. So a kind of de jure not de facto. Right now, the NUG is establishing their administration and control territory, combined with their de jure and de facto legitimacy. But whether they will succeed or not is we are still seeing in the picture. Right now, from my analysis, what I can say is military will never win this war. But we are winning, but hard to say when we will win. Is we cannot see the final result right now, but we need to wait at least 2-3 more years because we don't have any support, foreign countries support like China or India or in neighboring country, but also Western country. But compared with Ukraine received a tremendous amount of support from the Western country. But in Myanmar, our fighters, they make their homemade weapon. So the military using the automated rifle and the military grade weapon, but they make their homemade weapon and fight against the military. So what I can say is they are very strong, determined. They know they can be killed, they can be arrested, they can be tortured. They know all these, they are mentally, psychologically prepared for these reaction if they fail. So I'm really thankful and honored of these individuals in the country who are still continuing their activism.
Yeah, thank you. Felix, Nikki talked about the neighbor countries, and I would like to know, can you give us an overview of how the countries react on the coup? You can focus on the most important.
Well, you have... I think it's not so much the reaction to the coup immediately in the aftermath of the coup that's important, but basically where they stand now. And I think, unfortunately, and this ties up with what's just been said, all of the neighboring countries do not at all support the NUG and the armed opposition as well as political opposition against the junta. That doesn't mean they openly necessarily align with the junta, although you could very, very much question whether China, whilst that's not their official position, is increasingly doing that. But nonetheless, they do not, as was rightly alluded to, they do not provide any kind of support, except for the Thai border, which has always been a bit porous anyway, where you have a trickle of especially humanitarian goods coming in that are directed to ethnic armed organizations and opposition groups along the border. But again, as was already said, the majority still goes to the junta. So that is really something that constrains the ability of the opposition to really put. Well, they do put a lot of pressure militarily and politically on the junta, but it could be loads more if they had open support from one of the neighboring countries, because you just need to look at a map where even if there were international actors that would be willing to support weapons, how do you get them in the country, right? It has to be through some sort of land border, at least the bulk of it. And if you look at all the countries surrounding Myanmar, none of them, as far as I know anyway, is willing to permit that, even informally, to basically turn a blind eye on it. There's nothing like that. There's, of course, the illicit arms trade, but that's not in the quantities and the qualities that the opposition needs. And that is really something where I totally concur. That's really in stark contrast to the support for a country like, for example, Ukraine has received. But then Ukraine, you have countries like Poland, immediate neighbors, who openly support it, and where through which the logistics and the operational, basically, arms deliveries are channeled, and that's simply not the case with regards to Myanmar, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, to be honest. Quite the contrary. One last point: my hunch is that a lot of the neighboring countries basically wait for elections to happen, any kind of elections really, and then they can sort of try to normalize after a few months or half a year or so. That is really my fear, and that is also the job of Germany, of the European Union, of other actors, to really put the pressure up diplomatically that this isn't going to happen. But I fear it might. That if we have in 2024, if we have national elections, they're of course a sham. It's all a bit of a farce. It will be called out to be a bit of a farce, but I fear that for convenience, for certain also business interests, there will be attempts to normalize relations with the junta in the aftermath of any kind of national elections, however shameful basically they might be, and that includes even a neighboring country like India. That is my fear. I obviously don't have a crystal ball, but that is my fear.
Okay, and so would you say Western sanctions have failed also?
Well, it depends on what you consider the goal of Western sanctions to be. If the goal was to basically bring the junta to its knees, yes, they failed. But then, well, I would argue that if that was really the stated intent, that was never realistic anyway, because you look at an actor like the Tatmadaw, and they've been basically sanctions. They have so much experience in sanctions proofing themselves over decades, that wasn't really an option anyway. Plus, there were never international sanctions, right? There were sanctions by certain Western states. That's it. I mean, there were never sanctions by any of the immediate neighbors. They didn't buy into it. ASEAN didn't buy into it, didn't launch any sanctions regime. There are individual countries who do more or less. But by and large, I think we can say if the intent was to bring the junta to its knees, then yes, they failed. But of course, they did constrain space of maneuver for money laundering and other things for the junta, at least in Western countries. But yes, they have alternatives, and they've used them. That's a sad fact, but I think, well, that's how I see it.
Yeah. Okay, Nikki, from your perspective, would it be helpful if Western countries would have more sanctions, like more targeted sanctions, or a broader trade embargo also for civilian and non-military goods?
Yeah, I do agree that we need more sanctions, more targeted. For example, like aviation fuel, so like jet fighters using. So that should be a section in the international community. All United Nations member and also United Nations Security Council take actions. But sometimes, I feel here in Germany and Europe is like Myanmar issue is not so quite popular because the Western media not always portray, or they have a primary more majorly focusing on Ukraine, or now shift on the Israel-Palestine issue. So whenever, I'm totally impressed by the Western democracy and freedom and democratic value here, but sometimes democracy is, elected by the people, but the the majority people are influenced by the media.
Yeah.
So whatever media is telling them, they only believe in some certain will. They don't know about the other country or what is going on happening in my country. So sometimes I'm really worried about, Western democracy. Only what media, brainwashing or giving or portraying, they believe in those some certain will. So my suggestion is, people. That's why I like to come here, that kinds of event, to give my insight to the German audience, because whatever you are consuming from media is not enough. You should hear from people like me. So actually, I left my country in mid-June 2021. So until I was in March in Yangon and Myanmar. So I also the victim and survivor of the military coup. And finally, I cannot live in the country and I left my country. So, my point is that you should be hearing people like me and people who have real experience from the country. That's who can provide you more insight. So that's one point. Western section, and go back to Western section. So it is hard to justify and it's hard to calculate how much it is affecting, but efficiency and efficacy of the section. But right now, somehow it constrains the military capability to access international market and weapons. And so somehow it it has impact. But the whole section, without cooperation of the China, India, Russia, those neighboring countries, so section might still have a problem because of the effectiveness and efficacy also not only by the Western section, but also other ASEAN neighbors also complying with these Western sections. But I see some of the progress, like UX section on the banking sector. So Singapore and other ASEAN countries are cutting the tie, monetary cutting financial tie with the Myanmar government and Myanmar military haunted finance and banking. So these are some kinds of constraints limiting their access to funding and money. So good and bad, but we had to justify it is really impacting or effectiveness is still questionable.
Mm-hmm. Earlier this year, you have filed a complaint at the German Federal Prosecutor, das ist der Generalbundesanwalt, against high-level members of the military junta because of crimes against humanity, because of the military violence against Rohingya and the repression of the coup. Can you explain briefly what you expect from this complaint and why did you it before a German court?
Yeah, actually, there has been an international accountability initiative has been take place at the UN level. UN also have a fact-finding mission. Now UN have an international mechanism on Myanmar. They are collecting the establishing the fact, and also in sorry, I forgot the name, in Argentina, and also in, some other country have international accountability initiative. But I believe and trust in Germany because the Germany law of the, international crime is more more tangible. And also, I am also one of the victims and survivors of the military coup. And I live in the Thai-Myanmar border for 3 months. So my family, so I have at that time a 4-year-old daughter, and my son was 5 months old. So we live in the jungle, and we have seen military sending their drone and airstrike in different areas in that region. So we survived those situations, and we come to Germany. So one of the idea is military is the perpetrator of all the crime in the country. So they are the major perpetrator. They committed the genocide against the Rohingya. So before that, they committed the different kinds of human rights violations against the ethnic minority. And also after the coup, they're still continuing. So the idea behind, one of the idea behind opening or filing a criminal complaint in Germany is a kind of message, a symbolic message to the world. If Germany accepted the case, like they are perpetrator, they are criminal. So nobody, no country, no nation should give any legitimacy to them because they are criminal. And also Germany, another problem is, like I said in my presentation, power vacuum. So we had to establish our own institution for the judiciary system. But Germany also have an existing very powerful judiciary system and law, that can prosecute the general who are responsible for the international crime.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Finally, we want to have a view in the future. Felix, I would like to know, for 2020 elections are planned. Does that mean credibility and fairness?
No, absolutely not. I think this is couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, these if they were to happen in 2024, these are absolute sham elections, and I think we, as from Europe, but also from other capitals around the world, need to absolutely call a spade essentially, and put a lot of all the diplomatic pressure we can muster up to influence the positioning of other states who are on this, who I said I fear are or might be thinking about normalization their ties with the regime, if they haven't done so already, in the aftermath of so-called national elections in Myanmar, who, for starters, won't be national elections, because if the junta doesn't even control considerable parts of the nation's territory, there can't be national elections in the first place. Plus, you talk about the insecurity, the continuing violence, and so on and so forth. This is, to me, an absolutely no-brainer that this should not be accepted, no.
And last August, the sentence of Aung San Suu Kyi has reduced from 33 to 27 years, so minus 6 years. What did that mean?
Nothing very much. Propaganda. This is symbolism, I think, to cast the actions of the junta in a more benign light by reducing the sentence by a few years. But come on, I mean, Aung San Suu Kyi, I think, or let me phrase it more differently. I think it's plausible to assume that Aung San Suu Kyi, as long as she lives, won't rejoin the political process of the country, will most likely spend the rest of her life under house arrest / in jail. So just given her age, whether she's got 21 years, 18, 26, it doesn't really matter. I think the strategy of the junta is quite clear: to take the figurehead of the opposition out of the political process, out of political life, and completely isolate her. And so that this is my point of view on it. I don't believe in any of it. Yeah. This is basically a charade to fool us, but yeah.
Fast. Nikki, just one last sentence from you. What do you wish for the future?
Actually, I don't want a lot from you, from the German public. We need your solidarity. Sometimes, I mean, the war is chaos. Different part of the war have a different problem, but also we need your attention. So sometimes, I mean, you have to tell your constituency, who elected government tried to don't forget about Myanmar as well. So we are also human. Moreover, I look at German constitution so much inspired because one of the article is talking about human dignity. So human dignity is we are on humans, we are on this earth, we all deserve human dignity. So not only Ukraine, but also not also Israel or Palestine. Burmese also, Myanmar people also deserve human dignity. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. And do we have a question? I guess yes. I can't see it. 1 second. Yes. We have a questions from the audience, and yeah, you will hear it. There's a microphone. Okay. So,
thank you very much for this discussion. Because the motto of this evening is "Don't forget." What do you think, or do you think there would be other means possible or other ways to influence what is happening in Myanmar if we would have it on a higher level in the Western media, for instance, if it would be a more important problem perceived, would there be other ways to influence what happens there?
Who wants to take over? Felix?
I don't think necessarily that the developments on the ground are influenced by the media coverage in Germany, be it more or less. Or the way I look at it is this is now essentially a country that is experiencing an almost nationwide civil war, and the key actors are the domestic actors inside the country. And they have to hold the most sway over the future developments. Of course, I agree there should be more coverage. It is increasingly, I would say, and I know it sounds harsh, but from an analyst mind, it looks like it's almost becoming like a non-issue almost in Europe. It's completely basically off the agenda, despite the fact that the situation has actually not improved one bit. There's still widespread atrocities going on, and so on and so forth. We've discussed this at length here tonight. So yes, media coverage here is good, should increase, but I warn against basically drawing some sort of line from our media coverage to developments on the ground. And I think what's really important, and also I think where we should rather look out for, is how can we keep, especially diplomatically, we don't have all that many other options, plus of course sanctions, a tighter sanctions regime, but how can we really put a pressure up diplomatically together with states in the region on the junta? I think this is my biggest fear at the moment, that this will drop in the next few months or years, and then there will be this slow process of the junta gaining legitimacy over internationally over time, and that this is definitely, I think, where we have to be really careful and work against that.
Mm-hmm. Nikki, do you agree? You mentioned media before.
Yeah, Western media, I mean, whether they cover or not is only awareness raising in the West, but it doesn't impact on what we are fighting for in the country. I agree with that. But sometimes, I mean, people, when some kinds of people have expectation like solidarity, and so people feel like they left behind. The war and wars only care about other people, not forgetting about Myanmar. So sometimes media inequality, what I mean is not, so there's always inequality of portraying, these. That's why some Burmese, people, they feel like left behind. But it doesn't impact on our fighting in the country. And also some of the policy and also the fear, like the military junta might gain their legitimacy slowly, but I don't think, even right now, almost 3 years, over 3 years now, and China, Russia backing, and India, neighboring country also, but they are losing. So the problem is we have to calculate for the future, like what kinds of need, we will need after the post-coup and the post-revolution. But sometimes, some of the discussion in West Europe, they're not thinking about, but they are thinking about mostly like military might win, because they are so much institutionalized institution and consuming all the natural resources. But what if they fail? And so what if they feel like we need a lot of capacity, a lot of support from the West to re-establish a democratic institution in the country? Right. Also, right now, NUG and the other stakeholders, they are also establishing a new institution, replacing the junta services and junta institution. So in like a new university, online health and education services, those needs to be supported by the so-called Western Democratic Alliance. So we need support on those developing those institutions. So my biggest fear is my country became a failed state. Every institution, everything is destroyed, and we have to build from the ashes. But now, what I'm seeing is that there are also alternated institutions established, and those institutions need funding and access to the technology and support from the West as well. Thanks.
Thank you so much to you both. Thank you for your precious input. Felix, we say goodbye to you. Good evening to Berlin. We'd love to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And the audience. So we're coming to an end. Thank you for watching, coming, joining our live stream. And I would love to see you tomorrow again. Tomorrow it's all about sustainability and lithium mining in South America. Goodbye. I wish you a pleasant evening.